Hello, Canucks fans. Welcome back to another episode of Canucks Conversation brought to you by Bet365. We're coming to you from the Pacific Toyota Dealer Studios. Visit shoptoyota.ca or visit your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. My name is Jake Vadrelli. I'm joined by Harman Dial. We didn't do a show yesterday, but there's a couple NHL news items for us to get into. We're going to do that. We're going to preview tonight's preseason game between the Canucks and the Calgary Flames, and then we're going to be joined by Irfaan Gaffar, who's got a brand new show that we want to talk about and get some stuff going on because there's a player that's been connected to the Canucks. It's going to be a busy show today. But Harman, let's start with, I'd say, the news of the day, really the news of the week. I don't think we're going to get bigger news than this. Kirill Kaprizov signs a record-breaking contract with the Minnesota Wild, a $17 million annual average value. The structure of this one is really interesting, and I think maybe that's more of an anyone else conversation because it's like $1 million in base salary and signing bonuses and all sorts of stuff. I think that's more of a thing that we can dive into later, but just your initial reaction to this record-breaking contract for Kirill Kaprizov, one of the last 8-year contracts that we'll see signed.
Well, two things can be true at the same time. First, the contract is a slight overpay, and yet it's still a deal that the Wild absolutely had to sign. The slight overpay angle, I think even with the rising cap, $17 million for Kirill Kaprizov is a lot of money. I don't expect Connor McDavid, if he were to re-sign in Edmonton, for example, to be above 17 million. Kaprizov at 17 is 3 million more per year, more than Leon Draisaitl. It's 5 million more per year than Mitch Marner and Mikko Rantanen, especially because durability has been a question mark for Kaprizov. He missed half of last season with injury, and then even the 2022-23 season, he only played 67 games, and he was banged up in the playoffs, which caused him to only put up 1 point in 6 games that spring. So with all that in mind, I think his agent did a terrific job getting him to that number. I think he knew the leverage factor, especially when the owner weeks in advance was saying, we're going to do whatever it takes, and it's likely going to be a record-breaking number. I think his camp knew that they had all the power there, but at the same time, superstars are so hard to find, and he's nearly as important to the Wild as Quinn Hughes is to the Vancouver Canucks. And when you look at the Wild's emerging young talent, right, they've got Zeev Buhm coming, Yurov, Ugrin, Wallstead, David Juracek. Plus, they are finally out of cap hell as far as the Parise and Suter buyouts. The next few years are when the Minnesota Wild expect everything to sort of come together in terms of their established core is ready, their youth wave is coming. They've got cap room. They're expecting to step into their cup contention window and break out of this mushy middle that they've been stuck in forever. That was never going to be possible if Kaprizov left. If he left,
Exactly,
they would have been forced into some kind of rebuild. And so did they have to pay a little bit more than they would have wanted? Probably. Is it still a win for the Minnesota Wild? Absolutely.
and that's what I keep coming back to is, who's not complaining about the cap hit? Minnesota Wild fans. Like, I haven't seen any of them be like, "Oh, I don't know about that." It's the same thing with Quinn Hughes and the Canucks, right? Like, if Quinn Hughes signs a contract, and we know that this team has already made it clear they are going to back up the Brinks truck to keep Quinn Hughes. It's really the main thing that's going to be the main draw from the Canucks is that, hey, we have a lot of money that we're going to give you. If Quinn Hughes resigns, you're not. I don't think you're going to see many Canucks fans sitting there saying, "Oh, I don't know about that. That's a bit of an overpay." That's your team. Like, that's your team, and it's the same principle as you just said with the Wild, and the Wild especially. Like, how long have they been in that mushy middle, right? Where, okay, we're a playoff team, but first round exit, or we're really close to the playoffs, or whatever. That was going to take a huge step back if they lost Kaprizov. So I think first and foremost, that's the really important thing. And Jacob just made a good point. Their entire existence, the Wild have been in that mushy middle. The next one that came down the pipe, and we can talk about more about Kaprizov and anyone else. I also want to talk about it with Irf. But the next one, the interesting thing was, if you were wondering what effect the Kaprizov contract might have on non-superstar players, but still good players, I think you got a clue on Wednesday morning today. Because Luke Hughes' stalemate with New Jersey Devils came to a close with the youngest Hughes brother agreeing to a 7-year deal at $9 million annually. Luke Hughes is going to make more than Quinn Hughes. Luke Hughes is going to make the same amount as Cale Makar. And again, I know the way I'm presenting this is like, oh, sticker shock, but it's not. It's NHL revenues have gone up and player salaries have not. This was going to be a pivotal kind of next stretch. We have the knowledge of what the salary cap is going to jump to. Again, it's why the Brock Besser contract looks fine. It's why the Connor Garland contract looks fine. Again, when you talk about percentage of the cap, those aren't increases. With Luke Hughes, this is what I think people should just get ready for and expect is that these middle of the pack players, like Luke Hughes, probably like a $6-8 million player two years ago, right? He's now jumping to 9 on a long-term deal. And it's because, like I said, the revenues have gone up, but player salaries have not gone up in a long time. And now it's the players' time to get paid. At least I think that's what the PA's kind of talking point is going to be, especially when you got McDavid coming up for a renewal. Like, it's important. It's an important time for the players right now.
And if you're Thomas Harley, you're licking your chops watching this Luke Hughes contract at $9 million, because Harley, he was 7th in Norris voting last year, breakout star for Team Canada at the Four Nations. If he follows that up with another year where he's a top 10 defenseman in the league, then what number is he going to get, even after you account for the no state income tax when you're playing for the Dallas Stars? I think it's a fair deal for both sides, given the context of the cap going up. From the team's perspective, with young players, I think it's so important out of ELCs that you get as much term as you can. Go along, because if you bridge them and they break out, you could end up screwing yourself over in 3 or 4 years when the cap is even higher and when that player is potentially a more established star. And then from the player's perspective, because I saw some people saying, oh, what a steal for the Devils. Why would the player do this? Why didn't Luke just take a short-term deal? The thing is, at $9 million, he's already tied as the 13th highest paid D-man in the league. Luke Hughes just isn't a $9 million defenseman yet. He's probably not even a top 50 defenseman in the league right now in terms of present day value. Like, I don't think he's quite stepped into, this guy's a legit top pair caliber guy. He puts up the point totals, but in terms of his actual 2A play driving impact and even strength, he's a top 4 guy, but I don't think he's a top 2 defenseman on a contending team yet. So you're not there yet. You got the potential to get there, but you're getting paid like one already. And you get the long-term security of what's the total value, $63 million. That's really hard to pass up.
Yeah, absolutely. And with Luke, again, I think he's going to be a guy that has a big year this year. I think this is going to be a big year for Luke Hughes. And the thing about Luke Hughes is he's gotten better every year. Would you like to see him kind of step into his own a little bit more? Yeah, sure. But again, putting up those point totals when you're not on PP1 all the time. And I'm not sure if you heard, did you hear Jack Hughes' comments about
I did.
He wants Luke on PP1. It's time to get him top pairing minutes. I'm like, if you're Dougie Hamilton listening to that, like, what do you make of that? But anyways, yeah. Anything else on Hughes that you want to say? Again, we're gonna pick up this conversation with Irf.
I'm gonna say broadly, I know the point totals have been flashy to this point. I know, especially if he's a full-time power play 1 guy, that he could become 60+ point defenseman, which is pretty rarefied air. But I don't think he has the same superstar upside that Quinn and Jack do. I'll be honest. I don't think, even though ironically he's the most athletically gifted, as far as he's the biggest one of them all, and he still skates as well as those guys, I don't think he's as smart as them in terms of hockey IQ. And I don't say that as a knock on Luke. I mean that as Quinn and Jack are elite hockey IQ, like top 0.1% in the league in terms of IQ. And I don't think Luke has that level of just making reads. Otherwise, he would have already done what Quinn did, because Luke has the athletic gifts that Quinn doesn't in terms of the size aspect. So we'll see. I still expect Luke to grow into becoming a top pair defenseman. I just don't know if he's ever going to become superstar. We look at him as a top 10 D-man in the league kind of a player.
Agreed. Evan Bouchard, do you think that's a fair ceiling?
Yeah, I'd say so. Their traits are different. Their traits are different stylistically. They have different strengths and weaknesses. But you're right. As far as Luke still has a lot of growing to do in terms of the defensive side of his game, cleaning that aspect up, being more of an assertive, even strength play driver. He's young. He's still going to improve a lot. I'm not here saying that, oh, he's only going to be a middle of pack second pair defenseman for the rest of his life. I'm just saying he isn't a star yet. And that's why I think the deal is ultimately fair for both sides. It isn't just look at how fortunate the Devils are to get him locked up on such a long-term deal.
Let's bring in our guest. Irfaan Gaffar joins us. He's a presentation of our friends over at Greta, a great spot for all games, home and away, and a great spot for our watch parties. Make sure you come out, join us. Edmonton versus Vancouver, October 11th. It's the first road game of the year to kick off our watch parties for this season. It's always a ton of fun. You got the arcade games, you've got the street food menu, you've got the bar, and we section off a part of the restaurant, the bar. You get to just come hang out with us. It's a great time. Come visit, come hang out with us, come play games with us. Open challenge to anyone who wants to take me in arcade basketball. I said arcade basketball. I'm not doing one-on-one with anyone. But come hang out with us. Come have a good time. Come watch the Canucks game. We give away a bunch of stuff. So just come hang out. Going to be a great time. More information available soon. But October 11th, you can get tickets at nationgear.ca. All right, let's bring him in. Irfaan Gaffar, who will be at the watch party as well. You'll be there for the start, and then you're taking off to do Rinkwide. Irf, you got a new show, not just Rinkwide anymore. You got a new show. Tell us about it.
Yeah, DFO Insider Edition with our good friend Dave Penyota, someone who I've known forever, worked with for a long time. The fourth period should be good, should be fun. I mean, Dave is pretty tapped in, and I'll try and just ask him a bunch of questions. We'll try and take some feedback and obviously questions from people around the league, not just here in Vancouver, but we'll definitely do some league-wide stuff. We'll have a segment, I think, called Checking In North of the Border. So we'll go through all 7 Canadian teams. And then, just hot button issues, topics, like things that we guys have been talking about all day, each and every Wednesday. So I think that goes at noon Pacific every Wednesday. It'll be out that day. Jacob, as well as producing this, will be producing that as well.
Yeah, Jacob's all over the place. We got Jacob doing everything.
Jacob's doing everything.
Irf, your reaction to the contracts that we were just talking about, Kirill Kaprizov and Luke Hughes?
Kaprizov is massive. And, you and I were talking about before about the landscape changing. I think the landscape changes a little bit if you're a superstar. If you're a guy that knows that you can command a certain type of money and you have a team and owner that's willing to do it, you're going to get your money. For a guy like Luke Hughes, a little bit different. You got your money, but I don't think there was anything more than that was going to offer. I mean, the interesting part about that one is he's got a modified no trade list in year 6 and 7. So they could trade him at any point between now and then. I don't think that they will, but just an interesting note on that deal. Another funny note about Luke Hughes. Remember when Travis Green was the associate there? So Travis wanted to have Luke run the power play then. And I believe someone came down and was like, what's that going to say to our $9 million Dougie Hamilton? He couldn't do it. So back then you wanted Luke to run the power play, and someone was like, no, Dougie has to do it because he's our $9 million guy. Now Luke, all these years later, is the $9 million guy.
That's so funny. And I think it's also an interesting insight into these decisions. Like, how much you make in a locker room matters more than you would think. And there is a hierarchy, and that's why coaches are sometimes slower to give young guys the rope, because they have to manage and massage certain contracts and other egos in the locker room. It isn't just strictly about on-ice ability. I wanted to ask you more broadly. Kaprizov's off the board now. It's interesting because every year we sort of look at the UFA class a year ahead, and there are all these superstar names, and a lot of them don't actually end up moving teams. Now, last summer was a little bit different because we had the Rantanen and Blockbuster trade, and he ultimately ended up signing in Dallas, and Marner went to Vegas. When you look at this year's remaining crop of star-worthy pending UFAs, you've obviously got McDavid, but also Kyle Connor, Adrian Kempe, Jack Eichel, Marty Necas. Do you expect any of those guys to realistically hit the July 1st market, or do you think most of these guys are just going to end up re-signing with their teams the way Kaprizov did?
I think most of the guys are going to end up re-signing with their teams, just like Kaprizov did. I mean, look, the only interesting one is is really Connor McDavid, to be honest. Like, I think as soon as the LA Kings decide that they're going to go to $10 million or $11 million, whatever it is that Kempe wants, it's going to get done. And I think that they just have to get that number. Now, if it's a difference of $1 million, the team's probably just going to suck it up and do it. And I think Sportico's valuations had the Kings at the 5th highest valued franchise. So LA's making money no matter what. So they're fine giving the guy the money. I think Eichel is an interesting one because there's a report that was out a while ago that it was going to be done before. I mean, we still can be done before the start of the regular season, but, you know, they're going to go back to the negotiating table and they're going to talk. And I think that number is going to come in pretty high as well. Maybe 12, 13 million. I think he wants a little bit more than Mitch Marner. And I think that, you know, for a guy that is Jack Eichel, how much he means to that team. Yes, the industry or the injury troubles have kind of hampered his career a little bit. Still a Stanley Cup champion, still means a hell of a lot to that organization, and can put the puck in the back of the net at an elite level. And then, you know, some of the other guys you mentioned, Natchez will just kind of fall under, I think, those guys because he's not going to be that upper echelon. But I heard you guys talking before. Harm, you don't think that McDavid is going to make 16, 17 million, 17 on a
well, I don't think he'll top Kaprizov, especially a lot of the insiders have been talking about, well, if it's Edmonton, especially, that because they're already paying Draisaitl a big ticket 14, yep, Bouchard's a big ticket, Nurses over 9, that how big of a number can he take if it's in Edmonton, as far as having a supporting cast around him that can actually win a Stanley Cup? Now, maybe if he goes to market on July 1st, yeah, then he could sort of pick a destination where he could also get paid and have a chance to contend. But I think if it's Edmonton, like, would it shock you if McDavid took 16, for example, especially if it's on a shorter term deal?
I think McDavid's going to wake up one day here in the next little while and be like, all right, just get it done. Just get my 3 or 5 year deal done, get it done. And he's going to go on his recruitment tour. And his recruitment tour is going to be anyone that he ever wanted to play with that has a contract coming up, or go to sit down with his GM and obviously, you know, his former agent, Jeff Jackson, who runs things now in Edmonton, and say, this is who we need. This is what we need to do. This is who I want to play with. You're Connor McDavid. He is the best player in the world, and he needs to be treated like that by the Edmonton Oilers. They need to give him a running mate. Now, I know that Leon Draisaitl has been, and he's been a great soldier with Connor McDavid. But the difference for me between Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl, here's my thing about that. Leon can go through his entire career, and everyone will know Leon Draisaitl is an amazing hockey player, won Hart trophies, did that and everything the other. Leon Draisaitl can go through his career and no one will say anything about Leon if he doesn't win. If Connor McDavid doesn't win a Stanley Cup, he can't sit at that table with Crosby and Reinhart and McKinnon and any of that. He just can't. And it's so tough because of how much he cares about winning, that the Edmonton Oilers need to care equally as much about winning as Connor McDavid does. And it has to go there this season. And I think that that's why you've seen McDavid not handle it yet. Or sorry, McDavid not sign his contract yet, because the Oilers haven't given him that indication, much kind of like here in Vancouver, of what they're going to do, what their pathway is to them ultimately getting to hoist that Stanley Cup, not just make it to the final and leave.
How big of a factor do you think is the aging supporting cast at Edmonton?
Yeah,
because I'm looking through, and I remember when the Canucks were playing the Oilers a couple of years ago in the playoffs, and I was pointing out, I don't know if they have the longest window when you look at Hyman is 33, Nuge is 32, Ekholm is 35, Nurse is 30. You got a lot of guys that are over the age of 30 and not a lot of young talent on the way, especially after having lost Broberg and Holloway, who, if they had those guys, you would feel a lot better about, all right, this team still has a long runway of contention. How large of a factor do you think that will be in McDavid's decision and seeing an actual, like, needing to see an actual long window before he commits to potentially re-signing in Edmonton?
I don't think that there's anybody that has a big a decision and can wait as long as he wants to actually see a clearer picture of an organization than Connor McDavid. The guy's been to the Stanley Cup final the last 2 years in a row and hasn't won. And now he's doing exactly what you're doing, Harmon, what we're doing. We're looking at it and seeing, like, man, this guy's 32. He's missed half the year last year. This guy's 30 and he can't defend. Like, he's only going to get worse, right? Ekholm, he gets one injury at 35. That's going to be tough. Not to mention a goalie situation at Edmonton. Yeah, I can't get Connor Ingram. How much is he really going to propel that team to get over the hump? And for the Edmonton Oilers, it's not just one or two role players. You need a guy to go play with McDavid night in and night out. And the guy can't be an older guy. Like you mentioned, Hyman being 32 years old. You need someone that's 27 and 28. And you know how you get those guys? You trade one of the guys that you have that, like a Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, like someone like that to go and acquire someone and get better. And I'm not saying that his name should be, in the trade rumors, but the Edmonton Oilers are going to have to do something, and they're going to have to do something to convince Connor McDavid, I think, to sign a long-term deal.
Hey, speaking of trade rumors, your boy David Pagnotta, we saw it today, linking Lukas Reichel to the Vancouver Canucks. Lukas Reichel, he, of course, of the Chicago Blackhawks. An interesting name for sure, because again, it shouldn't cost too much to go out and acquire him, but linked to the Canucks. What can you tell us about this? Do you think he's a good fit for the team?
I can tell you that the team and the player, both the Chicago Blackhawks and Reichel, want to move on from each other. And I think that the Blackhawks should really take whatever they're going to get. Now, whether that's a late round pick, 6th, 7th round pick for a guy that, hasn't really panned out in the NHL. What is he? I think he's got 169 games in the NHL and 20 points, 30 points, or was it 53, something like that, maybe. Anyways, but he's also been on some really bad Blackhawk teams. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of the numbers of those guys on those teams have not been good. 54 points, 169 games. Thank you, Jacob. But yeah, I just think it's an interesting one. He's a guy that's young. He's a guy that's relatively cheap. And he's a guy that brings the Canucks a little bit more depth, I'd say, than what they already have. When you look at this Vancouver Canucks team, Archibald Bain's great story, awesome, does really good things down in Abbotsford. Is he an everyday NHLer? I'm not entirely sold on that just yet. Has Aatu Ratu done enough to show us that he's an everyday NHLer? I'm not entirely sold on that just yet. Jonathan Lekkerimäki, these are the guys that we go about to show. Has he done enough in training camp to prove that, again, is he an everyday NHLer? No. Not yet. Reichel's got some games. He's young enough. He plays the wing, but he can play center if you really need him. Coots is going to be a player in the NHL. I don't think we should rush and try and get him into the lineup opening night if he's there. The story's been great, and he's done an amazing job for himself right now. But at 18 years old, the jump from playing against the Calgary Flames or Edmonton Oilers, AHL teams in a preseason game is going to be a lot different on October 9th when they take to the ice. Now, for a guy like Lukas Reichel, I don't know, Harm, maybe if you've looked into it and noticed a little bit more, like those are some bad teams. So maybe the numbers don't suggest, things left and right one way or the other about the player. But I think it's a good flyer to take if you're the Canucks, like a 6-7 round pick. If that's all it's going to cost you to go get a guy to plug into up the lineup, I think that, you go and take that shot.
Yeah. If it's like a 7th round pick, I would do it. Now, it is interesting. Part of the reason why he could be so cheap is because he would require waivers to be sent down.
Yep.
This is the first year he's eligible for that because he's already hit 160 games played, I believe.
Yeah.
And really that's why it wouldn't cost a lot. The Blackhawks just don't have the leverage. They can't just send him back to the A. I'm trying to look through now because if my memory serves me,
do you think that you think the Blackhawks would waive him? I don't think so. I think that someone will offer a 7th.
Oh, I think someone will offer something, but because they have a deadline to make a move by, I don't think they're necessarily going to get a lot. So I'm looking at the last few years, his most common line mates, because I think it's easy to look at Reichel and say, well, if you can't crack the Chicago Blackhawks, then what are the Vancouver Canucks doing considering him when they've got already a glut of these fringe forwards that are trying to compete for spots? But I don't know if Reichel's ever gotten a consistent full-time top 6 opportunity in Chicago. And when I look at his most common line mates, according to Natural Stat Trick over the last few seasons, you're looking at Andreas Athanasiou, Pat Maroon, Philip Kurashev, Craig Smith. I mean, this is a skilled guy. This is a speed and skill guy. And frankly, he's mostly played with bottom 6 plugs who don't have really any any skill for him to mesh with. And I understand he has his flaws, right? He's a little bit undersized. He has room that he needs to improve as far as the defensive side of his game. But I'd also say this: he's shown some modest improvement. I'd say he's played with a lot more engagement and energy last season than he did in previous years. And I think, look, it's possible that he's just a fringe tweener and he never pans out in the NHL. But I also don't think he's gotten that proper opportunity in Chicago, where he's been a guy that he'll draw into the lineup one night, play on one line for a stretch of a few games, and he's shuttled down the lineup. Then he's in the press box. Then he's back in the lineup, but on a fourth line. I don't think the Blackhawks have managed his development well. And there was one stretch where when he first made the league in 2022-23, after tearing up the AHL, he got that consistent opportunity and 15 points in 23 games for the Blackhawks down the stretch that year. So especially with Nils Höglander out, I wouldn't mind throwing a 7th round pick and seeing if he can beat out a guy like Archie Bains. Archie Bains for today's preseason game is skating in their top 6. So you can't look at this Canucks team and say they're so loaded on talent that Reichel wouldn't be worth a roll of the dice if it's extremely cheap.
That's the thing. I think when you look at the depth of this organization, we sit here, you guys cover the team every single day. People listening, watching, they know that the depth of this organization isn't really there. Yeah, it might be at defense. Their defense right now looks pretty good. That D-core and the goalie, that looks great. But their forward depth, they just don't have it. You, like you mentioned, you've got a bunch of tweener NHL, AHL guys that you're hoping can maybe pan out and play in your top in that bottom 6 role. And I think that if you can get a guy that is going to be motivated, he's 23 years old. He was drafted 17th overall. Like, he's a high draft pick, right? For an NHL franchise. And maybe a change of scenery, and maybe, if the Canucks are willing to put in the work and, develop him here at the NHL level, with all of the people that they're able to do that and, make guys better players at a high level, then why not take that risk?
And the key there is the upside with Reichel.
Yeah.
That's the difference compared to some of these other guys. They have depth up front in the sense that they have guys who can play in a 4th line role and hold up perfectly fine, right? That Carlson can do that. Baines can do that if he has to. Sasson can do that if he has to. But it's when a guy like Höglander gets injured, do you have somebody that can step into the top 6 and hold their own in that capacity? And that's where Reichel, again, we're not talking about a guy that's 25 years old and has had a million chances. He is 23 and is a couple years younger than, let's say, Vitaly Kravtsov, who I think with Kravtsov, he's had the change of scenery opportunity that Reichel hasn't had yet. And again, I think the upside is still there.
Quads, maybe I'll even ask you, I think you look at it, and obviously what happened with the Calder Cup and how amazing that was and how far it went. There might have been a little bit of fatigue for those guys coming into training camp this year, for the fringe guys that we thought needed to go and get it. But for me, just looking at this team and seeing who could possibly be there, there is nobody that's actually grabbed this training camp and said it's mine.
Yep. You were waiting for one of those guys to just go out and take it. Like you said, grab it, right? Like, go out and be undeniably great. Now, Lekkerimäki's last 2 games have been good, and we've given him his props for that. And he's probably going to find himself in the top 6 if they don't make a trade. I explored this yesterday at CanucksArmy.com. But Reichel's a really interesting target for that reason. And it's like Harman said, the profile of Reichel is not like a profile of these other guys that we're talking about. Maybe Lekkerimäki, sure, but he's not going to replace Archie Bains in the sense of what Bains is going to bring to this team. He should be a step up. He should be a step up on an Archie Bains, for example. And like Harman said, skating in the top 6 tonight. The question I have for you guys is, when it comes to Lukas Reichel, what's your walkaway price? We keep talking about 7th round pick. What if the Blackhawks say, "Oh no, we're going to need a 5th for you to jump the waiver wire because this team's offering us a 5th"? What's your walkaway price?
Probably that. If they're not getting anything more than a 5th round pick.
Okay, but if it's a 5th, you're saying no? Okay, but you will pay for a 5th.
The Blackhawks are probably going to come and say that there are other teams offering this, that, and the other. Give us what your best offer is. And the Canucks are like, okay, we'll just take this 5th round pick. But that's probably it. Yeah,
Fifth and
I
throw in
think you're not
Danilo
getting anything
Klimovich.
more.
I'd be okay with that. Fifth and throw in Danilo Klimovich.
I think
That's
if you're not throwing in another player, no chance. Like the Blackhawks need to get rid of this player. Like they like you are not throwing in another player. If you can't get him for a 5th round pick, let's just put it this way: if he's been offered if there's a 5th round pick that's been offered and the Blackhawks haven't taken it because they think that they can get more, that's on them.
Fair enough.
Like they should be happy. They should be happy with that.
Yeah, I think around a 5th. If it's more than that, then
yeah.
Not
stop trying to give away players, Quad.
Well, I mean, in Quad's defense, it's Danilo Klimovich.
It's true.
What are you talking about?
I think the ship has sailed on Klimovich becoming an NHL player.
Irv, last thing for me, how do you see the Canucks' final cuts going? Let's say they don't trade for Reichel, okay? Like, is Braden Coots going to make this roster? Is Jonathan Lekkermacki going to make this roster? Is Baines a guy that gets sent down? Sasson? Like, how do you see the kind of final roster cuts going as we get set with the next final 2 preseason games coming here?
I don't know about Coots. I think the story's been incredible. I think what he's shown here has been awesome. But you're going to throw in an 18-year-old and right into the NHL, and then you're going to have to be wary of him playing 9 games if in round he does end up that way. You're going to burn a year of his contract. Is that something that you're going to take into consideration? You know, this is a little bit of a different story than, say, an Easton Cowan in Toronto, where he's going to get a chance to play, right? Whereas here, you know, you've worked this hard and earned your spot up until this far and gotten the experience that you need. And you can go back to junior and take that experience. It's invaluable. Like, you're going to get it, and you're not going far either. Your teams are going to pay attention to you, right? So I think that Lekkermacki is definitely going to have a chance if he can somehow make in that top 6. The Höglander injury is an interesting one because he's out for so long now. And what are you going to do with that spot? Because if someone gets injured in the top 6, Höglander's a guy that always moves up and plays in that role. So he's so versatile playing in that 3rd and 4th line role if needed, but also can move up that lineup. So do the Canucks have anybody on their depth chart that you can plug into a game and have on the team on a roster and situation and say, okay, we're comfortable leaving them in the bottom 6, but if we need something more from them, they can go play in that top 6. So I think Lekkermacki fits that mold a little bit. Archie Baines more, I would say, in that 3rd, 4th line thing. I don't know if you agree with me, Harm, on that. But if you're looking for a guy that, you know, can provide a spark on offense, it's probably going to be Lekkermacki over Baines.
I wanted to ask before we close this out with you, just overall, when you step back and look at the Canucks camp and preseason so far, it's felt from a vibes perspective good that things have been quiet. There hasn't been much drama. There isn't anything really that we're panicking about on October 1st, which hasn't always been the case in previous falls in the lead up to the regular season. From your perspective, because you're more plugged in often than we are, what's your sense of just the vibe and the spirit around the team, especially with the new coaching staff in place?
I've been on with you guys for 23 minutes. We haven't talked about Elias Pettersson, so thank you. But I mean, that's it, right? It's quiet. Things are good, right? And I think that when things are good, you know, you hope that the results can, you know, happen because of that. And, you know, they're going to be a hardworking group. They might surprise some people. You know, they are built out, obviously, from a defensive coach in Adam Foote to 2 great goaltenders in Thatcher Demko and Kevin Lankinen, and then their defense is good too. So if they can get the scoring, if the offense can connect, and, you know, I said not Elias, we haven't said Elias Pettersson's name yet, but if Elias Pettersson can go back and, you know, find his magic, then, you know, this team could surprise some people. We've talked about this before on different programs. You know, you look at, you know, the West, they will maybe be battling with the Kings for a final wild card spot or that in the division. Like, the West isn't that great right now. And if the Canucks can find themselves playing meaningful hockey here in March and down the stretch, I think it'll be a successful season.
Irf, great stuff as always. We'll see you on Rinkwide tonight. Rinkwide Vancouver.
Rinkwide, Jeff and I tonight and Friday, 2 dress rehearsals. And then we get at it on opening night next Thursday.
Love it. Thanks for doing this, Irf.
All right, gentlemen. Be well.
There he is, Irfaan Gaffar. Like I said, catch him tonight on Rinkwide Vancouver and that new show with David Pagnotta. I'm very excited about that. Irf and I were talking about that a lot this summer, so very happy to see it come to fruition. I'm very excited to see what those two can do together. All right, we're way behind on time here, so let's get moving. Before anyone else, I want to tell everybody about the Daily Faceoff Survivor Pool, which is officially live. If you think you've got the hockey knowledge to go the distance, this one's for you. It's a game of elimination strategy and a $2,500 grand prize for the last fan standing. Here's how it works. You start with 2 lives. Each round, you pick one winner from the slate of NHL games. But here's the twist. You can only use each team twice throughout the entire contest. Get a pick wrong, that's 1 life gone. Lose twice, and you're out. The pool runs until there's just 1 person left standing, and that winner takes home $2,500. So, are you ready to outlast the rest? Sign up now at dailyfaceoff.com or hit the link in the show notes. May the best fan survive. Speaking of show notes, Jacob, do we have enough Family Feud survey responses for tomorrow?
We do. Yes, we are all good on survey responses.
Okay, excellent. Then let's get to anyone else, which is brought to you by Pacific Toyota Dealers and the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. I kid you not. Before I do the ad read, we were talking, someone was like, oh, Prius. And then we were like, no, the new Priuses actually look pretty sick. I kid you not, Harm. I was driving that night after the show on Monday, and I saw one pull out right in front of me, pulled out right in front of me. And they are sleek looking cars, man. Not only did I just see a new Prius, I saw the Prius that I'm reading about is what I saw pull out in front of us. It was the hybrid. It was the same color as the one in the ad. It was really, really funny. But anyways, I thought I'd share that before telling everybody about the Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid, a no-compromise approach to electric vehicles that offers the best of both worlds. Drive up to 72 kilometers on battery alone and then seamlessly transition from electric mode to the gas engine for a combined range of 962 kilometers. No sacrifices when it comes to horsepower style with its sleek, low, and wide exterior and sophisticated interior. Loaded with tech that's actually easy to use, plug in to recharge at home or at one of the over 2,000 public charging stations in BC alone. And now you can lease a 2025 Prius plug-in hybrid SE from $99 weekly at 3.49% APR for 60 months with $3,800 down, and it includes a $3,000 discount. Visit shoptoyota.ca or your local Pacific Toyota dealer today. All right. Beer Baron in the chat said, we're not buying a Prius, Quads. Yes, you are, Beer Baron. Think about it. At least take one for a test drive. Tell them Quad sent you. They would be so confused if you told them that. If you just walked in and said Quad sent me, they'd be so confused. But anyways, Pacific Toyota dealers, go check them out. Check out that Prius. Yeah, don't take my word for it. Go test drive one. All right. Canucks, Flames, tonight. What are you looking for in this one? Again, we don't have a ton of lineup information. They didn't skate today, but we did see, courtesy of JPAT, at scenes from practice yesterday, that it looks like the group that we saw is going to be the playing group. It's going to be really close to the Canucks NHL lineup. Again, we've seen, we've seen 17 players get cut this week. It's down to the final cuts now. Those are the guys that you're seeing in it.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to see Lekkerimäki follow up on his last 2 preseason games and continue to excel. I think according to practice lines, he is currently with Coots and Evander Kane. So I think that's a good spot for him to continue to build some chemistry with Coots. Those two look good together at times on Friday against Seattle. And then really the eye at this point is really on the guys that are on the fringes of making the opening night lineup. Archie Bains in the top 6. What a glorious opportunity that is. He's got to take advantage of it. He started preseason slow. His first game against Seattle, the preseason opener, I thought was rough, but he's steadily gotten a little bit better. He's been more impactful in the forecheck. Now it's time to actually deliver some offense. I don't think he's registered a point yet in the preseason. And if he's going to take advantage of a top 9 opportunity when the games actually start in the regular season, he's going to need to produce. It can't be what it has been in his previous NHL stints where, okay, he doesn't really make mistakes, but we also know that he's not really moving the needle offensively. And this is where you want to see him making plays with more confidence. I think sometimes he has a tendency to have a hesitation in his game when we've seen him in the NHL in the past. Second guess himself, played a little bit too safe. He's got to trust that the playmaking ability he's shown at the AHL level, where he's been an elite producer, and he's shown creativity. It's not just he's putting up points because of some of his physical traits. He's got creative IQ and spin passes, but we haven't seen him try those moves really at the NHL level. I want to see him, all right, if you're in the top 6, make more ambitious plays and hopefully connect on some of them. because otherwise I don't think that experiment is going to last long.
No notes, man. Like, you're absolutely right. The baseline of his game, which we've talked about so much, is, oh, it's safe. He's not going to hurt you. That's just not enough. Like, everybody that plays in NHL bottom six can do that. But a lot of those guys can also chip in with offense, and that's what you're looking for. So like you said, golden opportunity for Baines. He's a guy I'm keeping an eye on. Obviously, we're not sure who's going to play defense tonight, but the battle continues between Victor Mancini, Elias Pettersson, and Tom Willander. I'm really curious to see how this one ends up shaking out. For Mancini, he's impressed, but when the coaching staff keeps talking about, oh yeah, we got to dial back some things, that makes me think, okay, like, let's see if he gets the opportunity. Like, let's see if he can dial some of those things back, and if he's able to play closer to the style of game that he's going to have to play on an NHL third pairing. Like, they don't need him to be that rover, right? So that's one thing that I'm looking for if Mancini plays tonight. We got a super chat here. It's from Adam Voth, and it's for $2, and we appreciate it. He said, "I'm behind on the stream, but Lucas Reichel, huge." I'm really warming up to the idea of Lucas Reichel becoming a Vancouver Canuck, and I must say that it's again, didn't really think about him very much until this morning, but once I did and once I started digging in a little bit, again, the ability to create off the rush, the speed, it makes me think, okay, this is at least a guy you want to take a flyer on, and really all because Nils Höglander is hurt. That was a super chat from Adam Voth. And if you want to make sure your question or comment gets in the show, hit us with a super chat. Proceeds from our super chat go to the BC Mental Health Foundation, changing the face of mental health and addiction by supporting breakthroughs in care, public understanding, research, and knowledge exchange. Do you agree with me? Like, you warming up to Lucas Reichel a bit?
Yeah. Now, long term, I think, and this is why you can't really afford to give up a lot for him. Long term, once Höglander is healthy, I wonder if Reichel will still be able to stick, because he's listed at 6 foot, but he's not short, but he's only 170 pounds. So he is a light guy. And when you also have Garland in the lineup, when Höglander is going to be back in the lineup, you have like Lekkermäki, you've already got a pretty light forward group that leans on the smaller side. So I don't think you can have all of Garland, Lekkermäki, Höglander, and Reichel in the lineup at the same time. But we know things could happen, right? So Höglander's out for now, which injuries happen. But also, what if Lekkermäki isn't ready to be an instant middle six contributor? So that's partly why it's nice to still have a guy with middle six insurance who can slot in right away, especially when the competition as of now could be a guy like Archie Baines, where it's not like the bar is set super high.
Dude, and this is what I was going to say is, if news of a Reichel trade breaks this afternoon, do you know who that's the worst news for, in my mind? Jonathan Lekkermäki. Like, that's your top 6 spot, and Reichel would get that opportunity, and he absolutely should. And I'm the biggest Jonathan Lekkermäki supporter there is this week. But man, like, that would be his spot gone. And again, I wrote about this, like I said, during the Irfaan interview. I wrote about this the Canucks Army yesterday, just looking at what the Canucks lineup should end up looking like. And basically it comes down to, okay, is Lekkermäki on this team? Is Braden Coots on this team? And then you can kind of figure out how it's going to look. Lekkermäki did really good things in these past 2 games that he's played to make you think, okay, he's going to be in the top 6 on opening night, but he hasn't earned that spot yet. He's still got 2 preseason games. I don't know if he's going to get into both, even if he just gets into one. Like, you got to do it again. You got to be consistent. And even, I'll tell you this, Harm, even if they trade for, or even if Lekkermäki plays well, they might still trade for Lucas Reichel. Because what if Lekkermäki looks great now, and then second week of October, when Lucas Reichel's already been traded to the Edmonton Oilers or whoever else is interested in him, right? Who else is out there, right? And again, I don't know. I don't know if the Canucks want to take that risk. I wanted to get to this super chat quick. And I'll let you respond to that, but it's disappearing, so I want to make sure I read it. It's from James Hansen. It's a $6.99 super chat. Very nice. He said, "No question, you guys kick ass. You make Canucks hockey fun to follow." Wow, that's a really nice message, and you paid for it. Thank you. That's super nice, James. Thank you. Thank you for that. Okay, Lekkermäki, respond to what I was saying. Sorry.
Yeah. And this is where it's important to have a conversation if you're Canucks management with the coaching staff, because as of now, I would not want to acquire Reichel and have him immediately take Lekkerimäki's opportunity. Lekkerimäki's feeling it right now.
Yeah.
He's the higher upside prospect by a mile because he is a couple of years younger. If you do acquire Reichel, I don't want him immediately leapfrogging Lekkerimäki. I want it would be because he's leapfrogging, let's say, a Carlson or a Baines, Sasson, the players in that tier. For me. So that's an important distinction, because I don't want it to come at the expense of Lekkerimäki unless he reverts back to his early preseason form where you go, all right, he isn't actually ready to be a full-time NHL player.
I don't quite understand this super chat. The super chats are pouring in now. We got another one from Different Elfern in the chat. 279, appreciate it. Oh yeah, here we go. He clarified. I still don't get it. He said, if we had Reichel, is 72 a center or left wing? I don't quite understand.
Does he mean Hedel? 72?
Yeah, he means Hedel.
Yeah.
So
okay.
if you get Reichel, does that? Are you getting Reichel to play on the wing? Are you getting Reichel to play in center? What's it mean for Philip?
Does Reichel play center? I thought he was a winger.
He's mostly a winger.
Mostly a winger, but he has played center before.
He was in the Bobby McMahon tier for me until this morning. I'll be completely honest. So
really? I swear I brought him up on the show before.
I'd heard of him. It wasn't quite the Bobby McMahon where it's like you were like, oh yeah, like keep an eye on Bobby McMahon. I'm like, who the hell is Bobby McMahon? I've never heard of this guy. I had heard the name before. I had heard the name, and again, I've seen, but I didn't know anything about him as a player. I spent most of my morning reading about Lucas Reichel. But yeah, of course, Hedel. I think Hedel's the center in that.
Oh, for sure. And Reichel at the NHL level has spent most of his time on the wing. The Hawks, I think, I'm trying to remember what camp it was. It was either last training camp or the camp before that. They tried to move Reichel to center, and it just didn't work. He did not look comfortable there. So I view him purely as a winger.
Fair enough. All right. Anything else that you wanted to get to?
So just a couple other things related to some of the practice lines we saw. We touched on Baines getting a pretty plum opportunity. Carlson, on the other hand, was skating with Bluger, and I think it was Joe Labate. That tells you, that's an important tell as far as earlier in camp and preseason, we were talking about how Carlson looked like he had a bit of an edge on Baines and some of the other sort of fringe competitors for roster spots. The fact that Baines is getting an opportunity and Carlson isn't up the lineup, that tells me anyway that whether you agree with it or not, that the organization probably is slightly higher on Baines than Carlson. And so if you're Linus Carlson, I don't know if he's going to play tonight, but if he does dress for one of these final two preseason games, you got to make a stronger push. And I thought last game against the Oilers, his first period started well. He was winning pucks back on the forecheck. He was just so disruptive with his length and stick. But then as the game went on, he started playing worse, while I think Baines started to pick up the slack a little bit. So that's sort of noteworthy. Is Baines getting an opportunity while Carlson isn't? And while we're talking about final sort of cuts, that's something to keep in mind. And then Ratu at practice on the line with Sherwood and O'Connor. Does that mean if Coots makes the NHL opening night lineup that, like, could we see Coots and Ratu in the lineup at the same time and Bluger as an extra forward? Is that on the table? I don't know. And I would be concerned about the PK, frankly, because that first unit from last year, the forward side, you've lost Pia Suter, and Bluger was a huge part of that PK as well. That's something to keep in mind. We've spent so much time talking about, can Coots make this roster? Can he make the, not just the roster, the 23-man one, but the opening night lineup, be one of the top 12 forwards for the season opener? Well, if he takes one of those bottom six center spots, then who wins out? Is it Ratu or Bluger? That's going to be something to keep an eye on as well.
Calcio Rico responding to what you said that's nuts. Carlson has always looked better at the NHL level than Baines. Yeah, I agree. And of course, you're not saying that you think Baines should be in there over Carlson, but yeah, no, that's a really good shout, Harm, actually. That's a really, really good point to make. Based on those lines that we saw. We'll see what happens tonight. Canucks, Calgary, catch Rinkwide Vancouver after the game, and we'll be back tomorrow to break it all down. Family Feud tomorrow as well. So it'll be a pretty fun Thursday show. And Jeff Patterson's going to join us. We actually have a loaded Thursday show tomorrow. Let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day. A lot of Reichel talk today. I wasn't expecting that. I'm all in, baby. Give me Lucas Reichel. All right. Actually, a couple things. People were saying I where'd it go? Yeah. Don B said Quad's changing his opinion about Lecker-Mackey like his underwear. That's not true. I changed my Lecker-Mackey opinion like once a week. Okay. Waka Flockavelli. That's a good name.
Yeah. So what are you saying? That he is right?
Oh, stop, Harm. Stop. I'm very hygienic. Come on now. Waka Flockavelli in the chat said, they call him quads, but we never see his quads. Do you even squat, bro? I do squat. And you know what? Give me a 10.99 super chat, and the show's wrapping soon. 10.99 super chat. I'll pop. I actually have gym shorts on right now. But anyways, that's more Canucks Convo After Dark. Maybe I'll bring that to the Rinkwide stream. They'll
So
like that.
speaking of quads, one of my best friends, he'll see the Instagram and TikTok reels of our show, but he doesn't actually tune in every day. And he was trying to remember the name of remember your name. He was sort of talking about your co-host, and I think he remembered it was a body part, but that your nickname was body part, but he was like, what's his name again? Elbows or something?
Elbows.
I was like, no, it's quads.
That's so good. That's really, really good. That's so funny. Okay. I like that. That's good. All right. Let's get to our Bet365 bet of the day. Playoff baseball is happening right now. I want to golf on Saturday. Okay. And let me walk you through this, Harm. The Seattle Mariners are playing a scrimmage game today. Ichiro Suzuki is playing right field in a scrimmage for the Mariners because they're trying to stay fresh for the LDS. Vibes are at an all-time high with the Mariners, but that's not the point. The point is the game one start time will be dictated based on if the Red Sox win or if the Yankees win. If the Yankees win the series with the Red Sox, then the Mariners will play game one of the ALDS against the Guardians or Tigers. The Guardians, I think. At 5 p.m., which would give me time to golf in the afternoon on Saturday. But if the Red Sox win, then it would be a 1 p.m. start for the Mariners. So we're rooting for the Yankees because I really want to golf on Saturday. So we're taking Yankees money line. They're the favorites tonight. Minus 200 odds taking on the Boston Red Sox. Have you tuned into any playoff baseball?
Just highlights.
It's been good.
It has. I'm going to interject, though. You realize, first off, no team who has lost game one has ever come back to win a wild card series since it was put into 2022. Every
That's
series, that is true. No team who has lost game one has ever won the series. And almost, I think it's been, 70% of them have been sweeps. And in the other 30%, the team who won game one bounced back to win game three. So the math says the Red Sox are going to win the series. And the math says the Red Sox are winning it tonight. Just saying.
The Guardians are absolutely beating the Tigers tomorrow.
I agree. I think that one, though, you can chalk it up to Scooble's the only reason that series isn't already over.
So that's going to be the first series, you're telling me? If the
Guardians win tomorrow, that will be the first series that the team who lost game one has come back to win the series since the league went to the current wild card format in 2022.
Well, the Yankees are doing the same. Although, man, I don't know. I feel like Rodon hasn't been very good against the Red Sox. Anyways, we're not overthinking this. And S. Little Boston, who I can guess is a Red Sox fan, is not happy that I'm picking the Yankees tonight. But I got to do it. I want to golf. Sorry, man. Okay, so we're just taking that.
Against Jim Rutherford's Red Sox. How dare you?
Oh, you know what? And that's true. I feel bad. I had a really nice conversation with Jim about the Red Sox and the 2004 team. So, you know what? We're switching. Red Sox money line plus 165. Do whatever you want, folks. Plus 165 money line. That's actually a pretty good bet for the Red Sox to win tonight. But the Yankees aren't going to lose two straight, man. I don't think they are. Jazz is going to go back in the lineup tonight. It's a righty. Like, that matters. Judge is going to hit fine against a righty. That now you've got Bellinger. Like, I don't know, man. I think the
just pick a lane. Just pick a lane.
Yankees are taking this. Yankees are for sure taking this game. It's going to be a tied up, and I actually think they'll win the series. Sorry, yes, little Boston. And Mr. Jim
That's
Rutherford.
crazy.
I
That's
apologize.
crazy to go 5 seconds apart from. Yeah, we're taking the Red Sox. I really like this line to, oh, the Yankees are taking this game and they're taking this series for sure.
This is not financial advice.
This is not financial advice, but I know ball. I know ball. The Yankees are winning this series. Yankees are winning. Guardians are winning this series. All right, we good? Can we wrap it up?
Yeah.
That was our Bet365 bet of the day. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Download the app and get it on the game. Use the code NATION at Bet365. Must be 19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. Callie Canuck is liking the quads flip-flop today. For my co-host, Harmon Dial, and our technical producer, Jacob Lazar, my name is Dave Gugelli. We'll see you tomorrow, folks. Family Feud Thursday and a Canucks game recap tomorrow. My name is Dave Gugelli. Thanks so much for the episode of Canucks Conversation.
Canucks Conversation is live Monday through Friday, every weekday at 2 p.m. over on the Canucks Army YouTube channel. Make sure you like, subscribe, and interact in the YouTube live chat every day with us, folks.